Good afternoon, VV Nation. Happy Thursday. Man, John, I haven't been here 10 seconds. And yes, that is what I'm concerned about. The DEW potentially going to a down situation. We'll get into that in just a moment here. I did set the alert, just a heads up. If you can hear me, if you can see me, put a VV in the comments section. Running it all by myself behind the scenes. Again, Joey and Clay, they are in Tampa. The stock market masterclass begins tomorrow morning. So I will go over some of the details that you may need. Also, I'm going to go over the agenda as well. Everyone's saying loud and clear. Perfect. Still getting used to the technical side of things. But hey, I like learning new stuff. I like it. John says, hit that like button on the way in. Yes, hit the like button. And can I get a ooh-wee for Tampa this weekend? We've got some heavy hitters. I mean, think about it. We got Steve Chappell, Jerry D'Ambrosio, right? Ron Wheeler, Ray Clark, guiding the individual. So we will get into some of the Tampa information today. In addition, I have some questions I want to ask the audience. Over the next few weeks, I'll be working with Brian D'Amico. And I think those 6 p.m. videos, we're going to tailor to those questions that you put in the chat. Hold them right now. Hold them right now. But just think about them. I'll ask you a couple questions, kind of get the wheels a turning up here. Because I really want some feedback. So that way, instead of just putting out videos and not helping anybody, and I know they're helping people, but I want to make sure that we're addressing the questions that you may have, right? I want to make sure. All right, everyone can hear me. I see the VVs in the comment section. Perfect. Let's get into it here. You see the major indices are down today, feeling the pressure. And just a heads up, I will be ending this live stream on time. I know I've been pushing it a little bit lately. Is it me or are these less YouTube live streams? What do you mean by that? Are we having less of them? No, we're still having the same amount. But as far as the software itself, we're going to get into it here. So I'm seeing a hodgepodge of colors in the color guard, and I have the color guard report this afternoon. So I got in it at 3 because that way I can get some good information for the color guard report. Again, that's at 3:55 in the general community room. So if you've never taken advantage of the daily color guard report or any of the other presentations for that matter, definitely do that. Jeff V, when is the Tampa 2-day? All right, let's get into it real quick. Let's get into it. Looks like everyone's getting here. All right, there's the software. I did want to show you real quick. Normally I don't show this, but just give you some guidance, especially if you don't have the software and you find yourself on the wrong side of the market more often than not than you'd like in your portfolio. Look at the color guard. Look at the confirmed down. Plenty of warning to our subscribers to protect profits, right? I'm not saying, just go out and sell everything, but definitely a good time to be a little bit more bearish or a little bit more defensive in nature. Bull behind Ryan. Oh, yeah. I forgot that was up there, honestly. All right, let's get to it here. Do screen capture. There we go. That's the color guard that I am speaking of here. You see the hodgepodge of colors. The RT relative timing, that's flashing red as well today. So if you don't have access to the VectorVest software, I will say this. Definitely take advantage of the Tampa 2-day. Again, it's 8 hours tomorrow. I think 8 hours the following day on Saturday. We'll get into the agenda of that in just a moment. But all the information, all the questions you may have about the entire VectorVest ecosystem can be answered there, especially, if you're teetering on whether hitting that, subscribing or taking the next level to the software. Definitely a great weekend to really learn everything, and get more familiar with our instructors. Now, let's get into the agenda real quick. All right, there we go. Here's the stock market masterclass. Again, this is tomorrow in Tampa. You can watch it for free, live stream on the YouTube channel. This is the link here, vectorvest.com/stream. I think Thad was going to put the links in the chat here in just a moment, but just vectorvest.com/stream. I'll take you right here, or just go to our YouTube channel. You just go right to our YouTube channel. You'll see it right there at the top, especially come tomorrow when it's streaming live. Get all the information there as well. We will have moderators in the chat. So if you have any questions about the presentation, in addition, I will say this, because these are the lowest prices all year round. I mean, there's the steepest discounts you're going to get. We do have an offers page as well. That is open already today. So if you think you're already going to renew, the best prices you can, I mean, you don't want to wait in the queue. I probably jump the gun, maybe today, maybe tomorrow morning, get ahead of that. Because I think the sale, and I don't have the exact details, but I'd imagine it's probably gonna be all next week as well. So, whether it's, emailing us, whatever it may be, I know this weekend's going to be busy, but we'll make sure to take care of everybody. Phyllis said, on the plane to Tampa, I have heard it a lot in this room before. A lot of these people are going. Can I get a sign of anyone else going to the Tampa event tomorrow? Just heads up, I won't be there. I am doing all of the timing, the markets, Australia, US, Canada, the special presentation. So we will have that business as usual. Now, as we get into the stock market masterclass, I just want to go over the agenda real quick. Day one, I have a little welcome session here to start at 9 a.m. 9:05, avoiding the 7 deadly sins. That'll be about 45 minutes. Got a little break there in between. And then we've got the key to big profits, riding the wave, strategic game plan. If you don't have a game plan, that's definitely the first one I would pay attention to. I've seen the comments that, some people have a plan, some people don't. If you don't have one, I would suggest getting a good plan, Then we got lunch, crafting a secure retirement, elevating your swing trading techniques. Again, a little bit more on the technical side of things here. So you can see already a wide range of topics addressing everything from retirement, swing trading. After the break here, we got risk reward, optimal investing presentation. If you're going to be there in person, you got to have a little cocktail reception to celebrate after the first day. Day 2, we're going to kick it off with the ETF masterclass. Leverages, inverse funds. I gave a similar speech, in Las Vegas. I will say that if you don't know ETFs, that is a powerhouse of a tool to utilize. Not only contra ETFs that hedge a down market, but just general ETFs for diversification purposes, right? We've got supercharged ETFs. So again, a lot of focus on ETFs there. One symbol, one trade, one set of rules for income. Okay, that's Ron Wheeler. So if you're looking for a consistent options income strategy, he's been doing this for years too. Phenomenal results. I know he's averaging about 3% a month, 36%, 36% a year. I'm sure they'll be showing these stats, but steady Eddie income, right? Steady Eddie income. Tabula says, Ryan say cocktails? Yes, there's a cocktail reception. I told y'all to get the in-person tickets. And it's going to be, Joey already told me, he said it's 80 down there. So if you're going, especially if you're from up north, even here in North Carolina, we've had our fair share of cold, told you, get out of that cold, learn how to make some money, right? The near perfect indicator, I will say, full disclosure, I never really had much exposure to the near perfect indicator, but hearing who was the speech in Las Vegas, right? The leg in, leg out approach. I know a lot of people do that with stocks, utilizing the near perfect indicator to identify, the peaks and troughs, and for those leg in and leg out approach. It's a phenomenal presentation and it's phenomenal strategy. So definitely take advantage of that one as well. That afternoon, taking control, turning your plan into action, right? You gotta have a plan, but more so, you gotta learn how to put that plan into action. And then it won't be as long as Fridays. It will adjourn at 3 p.m. So that is the breakdown of the agenda for the Stock Market Masterclass. As you can tell, there's a little bit for everybody, right? Even if you're, I would say, personally, even if you're not a retirement, even if you're like more retirement oriented, learning some simple technical analysis, some simple tricks can at least help, maybe, better dollar cost average, protecting profits more. But I would say take advantage of all this stuff, take advantage, and it's free. You can't beat free. Look right there, register for free, 2 days, all kinds of good information to put you in the right side of the trade. All right. Now that's enough of Tampa. Now, again, if you didn't register, just come here, VectorVest.com/stream. Let's see here. Roger says, are we doing Las Vegas again this year? That was a really good experience for those who don't live close to the East Coast. Hey, as far as I know, Roger, I think the plan is yes. Again, those decisions are made way above me. But as far as I know, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a yes. Probably around the same time, roughly. I think it was early fall, right? Somewhere in there. But it makes sense to have one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. I get it. But as far as I know, I think it's still going to be Las Vegas this year. So hopefully so. I didn't get much time to, really explore. That's crazy. I was in Las Vegas for 3 days, didn't hit one slot machine. I'm not much of a gambler in general, but that was my first time in Vegas. You'd have thought I would have hit one slot machine. But no, not quite. All right. That being said, let's get into the news, right? Let's move in the market. Right now, one interesting story that I found here, the U.S. trade deficit totaled $901 billion in 2025, barely budging despite Trump's tariffs. This is the difference right here. Compared to 2024, 0.2% or $2.1 billion. The report follows in which, so this is a series of aggressive tariffs for that type of result. I don't think the market's responding nicely to that. Is what it is. But yeah, that's a drop in the bucket there, 0.2% as far as a trade deficit. Now, the past 2 weeks, a lot of commentary as far as oil, right? Iran, if you want to play that, you can. I said, look out for shipping as well. It does look like the U.S., ramping up some of that pressure on Iran. I did see, they're doing a joint exercise, Russia, Iran, and China in the Strait of Hormuz. So keep that in mind. But this is what I found interesting because you guys put me down that rabbit hole. So I was like, well, let's see where we can really make some money. And there's a really small country next to Venezuela, Guyana, if you ever heard this here. Guyana, right next to Venezuela, right? Now, they don't have the massive reserves that Venezuela has. But look at this. Guyana's rapid development by ExxonMobil has enabled to exceed Venezuela's in daily production. Much smaller country, right? Much smaller reserves, but the atmosphere there, the infrastructure, all that good stuff, it's already in place, right? So they've already exceeded Venezuela as far as, daily production, right? You can see right here, Guyana emerges as the clear winner in Venezuela's oil reset, right? You know what I mean? I always like to think outside the box. And I've already looked at these stocks and they are moving. So let me just continue here. This is what it's all about here, right? This little oil field in the ocean off the coast of Guyana, right? Well, Venezuela didn't really like that too much. Well, Venezuela, we all know what happened there. So now Guyana's pretty much got full reign of this. No problem with U.S. backing, right? So my first question was, is there a pure play Guyana ETF? There's not, right? You can see right here, it's mostly just energy sector exposure, primarily ExxonMobil and Hess Corporation. So I got a list of stocks in regards to this oil play. We're going to take a look at oil in general because it does have my interest. But like I said, I'm picky when it comes to oil. I thought this was a good story. And not only that, but there's actually some traction with the story. It's not all hype. Guyana just took over Venezuela as far as, oil production, right? So, it just makes sense. Seems like a little bit safer of an oil play here. And I do have some infrastructure, there's a utility company that's kind of backing some of that infrastructure as well. So we'll take a look at that. But I thought it was just, an interesting play, right? Since everyone wants to talk about oil on the channel, so we'll take a look at it. Now, here's a stock, Herbalife, right? You and I came across this one every now and then. What I'll do is I don't say every now and then, I do pretty frequently, but I look at the top 100 VST stocks, pretty much the stock viewer, right? And I'm looking for ones that are new or things that just have my interest. This stock was up 15%. Well, it's at 17% now to the upside, right? So its earnings was pretty good. I'm not going to lie here. Revenue, let's see here, reported revenue, sales up 6.3%. EPS, this is a 5.6 miss, so they actually missed on EPS. I was wondering, why is the stock up so much, right? Why is this up so much? So I had to do a little bit of research for it. This is what I found. Cristiano Ronaldo. He's been in a partnership with them since 2013. Nothing new, but look at this. In February, $7.5 million for a 10% stake. And yes, he got a discount because I did the math on the market cap. He got a discount for those shares. But he got 10% stake of it. And what I love about VectorVest, this is what I love about VectorVest, right? For example, I could take a story like this, Herbalife. I could take, the Guyana oil story, a little bit different, right? Approach. And I could put these stocks in a watch list. That way I can get rid of all that noise, all the news, all that stuff, and really focus on, are these good stocks, right? Because you see the stories are decent. So now I just want to see if the stocks are decent. And the stocks are going to be decent based on what you're looking for, whether it's a swing trade or an investment, right? And we'll also take that into consideration when looking at the stocks. All right, so let me close out of this. And why I pull that up, because you see how it's going down the stock view, there is the top 100. I was also looking at sector. The reason why I had petroleum on my radar is because I'm seeing more and more petroleum stocks, if you notice here, appear in the list, right? You see petroleum popping up, petroleum. Because I look at this list quite a bit, and there wasn't many petroleum stocks here not long ago. But now they're popping in pretty frequently here in the stock viewer. Not so much the very top of the stock viewer. You see, that's mostly going to be ISSE, Micron, and some miners for the most part. So let's get over here to the watch list viewer. Go to news. All right, so these are the stocks I have here. Let's auto fit. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So the first thing I want to do, go figure it, reset it. I'm going to hit value divided by price, right? Value divided by price. Because if I'm more conservative and obviously following the guidance of VectorVest, right, I would favor an undervalued stock, right? We see these all have buy recommendations, but I would favor undervalued. In addition to that, I would favor rising earnings per share, right? So I'm going to go through these and see, but these already have my attention. They're in a hot space. There's a story there, especially Herbalife. Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest, and if not the biggest sports figure on the planet, right? So I could see that being a huge endorsement. Now it's up 20%. Okay, interesting. Now if I scroll over here to the right, let's look at the earnings growth rate here. You see, these are good still. So look at this. These are the undervalued ones, and they've got positive. I mean, the rest are negative here. That's kind of been my concern for a lot of the petroleum stocks, right? A lot of them are negative. As far as growth rate and earnings, even the sales growth rate, you can see it's negative, right? But these three at the top, just off that alone, is sparking my interest out of all of these stocks, right? So, if you ever find yourself, whether it's, AI, software, quantum, whatever, hot topic you want to talk about, right? Put them in a watch list, right? Because obviously the topic's hot, it's got your attention. There's already maybe some momentum in the news behind it, right? Now I just want to make sure these stocks are actually good picks, right? Show the symbols. Oh yeah, let me scroll back over. Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. Oh, and just real quick, most of these are all petroleum. This is the infrastructure place, utility, AT&T National. I think that's the one that's got the contract with Exxon, if I'm not mistaken. But these companies here all have exposure to that, Guyana petroleum, essentially, right? Except Herbalife. That's just a top VST. That's got a lot of attention right now. So let's graph these. Drag this over real quick. Where's that here? There we go. All right. Well, as far as Herbalife, as far as an investor here, I will say this. I mean, undervalued. You can see price action, chasing value to the upside. Nice, strong buy rating for the last few months. Rising earnings per share. That's all good stuff. And it's got a great story behind it, right? Great. I mean, the earnings, not phenomenal, but I really think it's that, more of the endorsement or that partnership, right? But I will say this, it's a little overextended for me. If you want to chase it, that's on you. But personally, I'd probably look for a retest here, which looks like the bottom wick tried to do. Maybe give it a breather. It might be a little overextended for my liking right now, especially if you're thinking more of an investment. But everything else looks good. Let's just add earnings growth rate. I mean, lower left, upper right, tapering a little bit here from about 20%, but coming in at 16%, double digits, not a bad stock. Again, I know a lot of us might be overweighted in the mining, the gold, the software, the AI. This looks like a good company here just in general. Not saying necessarily today. I probably get closer to this line. As well, just historically, looking at the 20-day EMA, ever since it got this momentum, typically a good point to look for accumulation here. But not bad. RT still above 1. I like it. It's a good stock. Just a little overstretched. I'd put it in a watch list. Probably get a little bit better deal. And we'll see what happens. But you're already getting a good deal because look at the value. Still jumping up. The value now is at $26.55. So you may not want to be too greedy. Here's AT&I. Again, utility company, international. I guess this does the communication sign. I think this is but this is in support of some of those petroleum companies down in Guyana. But look at the story. Earnings per share, turnaround story. It was negative, right? Look at the growth rate. Let me use a date line here. I think that was negative too, not long ago. -7. But look at this. Come November, it's now 20%. This is not a bad play, especially, if you want some, that international exposure. I know people have talked about, South Korean ETFs, things of that nature. I like foreign banks too. So yeah, if you want a little, international exposure, this might not seem like a bad one. And honestly, you can see the accumulation around the 20 here. If we got a little closer to the 20, wouldn't be mad at it. But look at that value jumping. Look at the growth rate. I like it. Let's see here. XOM and CVX are up 26% respectively. So it looks like I'm not there. And I have a feeling a lot of that was more focused on Iran and Venezuela. But me personally, just after doing a little bit of research here, don't sleep on Guyana. Don't sleep on Guyana as a reason for these companies to move. Let's see. Here's FTI. This is a company I've looked at apparently in the past. You can see rejection. Finally broke it. And you can see when it broke it, that was the momentum move. The retest on this 20 today, that's probably seems pretty healthy in general. But look, value rising, stock undervalued, chasing value to the upside. VectorVest makes it that easy. I've literally said it a million times. That's my favorite chart pattern. That's not, I don't know if anyone else has said that here. If you have, let me know. But undervalued, value in the rise, price, chasing that value. That's what we see here, right? Look at this, rising earnings per share. Great bonus. Growth rate in earnings, it's faltering. Still at 20% though, not bad. Buy ratings, we haven't had a sales, in quite some time. Price is a little choppy, but we're in a nice uptrend. I will say if you have some patience, I'd extend this line out because if it breaks this 20, I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking this line might still be important. I'm just going to throw that out there. What's the chart setup, right? Oh, M-Star. Yeah, of course. Sorry, I made a little one. I've explained this the last few live streams. Essentially, all I did was I took the VectorVest Simple, right? I shaded in the stop price. I added value, shaded that in. And then I just added a 20-day EMA. So if you want to do that, just right-click on price or whichever indicator you want to add a moving average of. Right there, exponential and 20. And then I just went to add parameter. Capital appreciation has not all, but you got some other ones here, but most of our proprietary indicators, and add a growth rate. And after I did all that, I came up with this one. I just figured it's just, I don't know, I just love this layout. It's simple, it's easy, it gives me the big picture. I got my 20 there for technical, looking at price momentum. You know me, I love a trend line, but value, earnings per share, and growth rate, I live by it. Let's see here, rig. Okay, so rig moving up with tangent, right? With its valuation, but now getting overstretched, right? So rig, just looking at the software, I'd say, let's wait on that breather a little bit more, right? Because if it's undervalued, yeah, breather is nice. I don't want to miss the opportunity, but I'd be more inclined to go into undervalued rather than something that's overvalued and just had a parabolic move like this. And I'm just going to throw this out there because that looks like a straight level of resistance. That's the line. Yep, that's what it had to break. Interesting. You can always continue that line. That might be important later. Let's see. Earnings per share, lower, wobbly, growth rate. No, this is dangerous. I'd stick to the momentum, maybe star search if you're in it. It's probably more news-driven kind of thing. But I like the other ones better. Here's Halliburton. I mean, this is one of the largest ones. You know, it's like a Chevron. All of them are overvalued. That's okay. But look, value is rising. But look at the earnings per share. That's actually dropping. That's a concern. So I'm just curious here. I want to add RV because if someone's thinking Halliburton or Chevron, you might be thinking more for the long term. Let's just see here. No, there's no long-term price. Well, it's in favor of the bond, 0.75 here. You can see RV below 1. I'm not liking that. I'd stick to the technicals here. I would stick to the technicals on that one. Here's CVX. Value, not much there. This is the line I'd be looking at right here. We didn't really retest it. This is what I'd be looking for, the retest. But the stock just overvalued. Forecasted EPS on the decline. Growth rate and earnings on the decline is actually negative 6%. Now, if you're in it, hey, I like the 20 here. You know, maybe use Star Search, help capture momentum, a nice swing trade. But as far as an investment, you know, even RV giving me, not unfavorable price appreciation potential over the next 1 to 3 years. I don't want unfavorable. Here's XOM. Here's another RV below 1. Stocks overvalued, falling earnings per share. I like these smaller companies up here on the list. The Herbalife. Oh, we got the AT&I here. Yeah, these look better than these ones here. Let's keep going down the list. This one here has negative earnings per share and is lower than it was a year ago. Overvalued. Yes, it is in a nice, it looks like an ascending channel. I've said this before. Here we go. Doom, doom, doom. Doom, 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 doom. Looks like we just broke above it. So I'd get ready for the pullback, honestly. There we go. Nice little ascending channel. We've seen this plenty of times before. What happens when it breaks that, the top of the channel? You might get a little boost, little parabolic move. But we've seen it time and time again on this channel, right? Time and time again. It'll break, typically short-lived and come back down. Because it's so overvalued, because earnings is weak, forecasted earnings. I'm not going to be optimistic. Not at this price point. Nope. No, maybe if it's closer here to the bottom of the channel, if you find a little pivot. But generally speaking, not the biggest fan of that one. Crude oil was in the 50s, but is now at 66. Earning will start rising soon. Interesting. I think it was, so Exxon, if I'm not mistaken, I think the average cost in Guyana was $30 a barrel. $30. Actually, let's just Google it real quick. Just curious. What is the average production cost for a barrel of crude oil in the U.S.? Let's see what it is here in the U.S. 45 to 65, right? So yeah, oil's got to go up. These companies ain't going to make no money. They're not going to make no money, right? And Guyana's at 30, right? So you got a little bit more cushion there in case oil goes back down. I still like the Guyana. This stock, though, overextended for me. All right. Now, I am going to spend some time on your picks today. Don't put them in yet because we're going to talk about something, right? I said the next few weeks, we're going to put out some videos really answering the questions or concerns that you may have. So just kind of get the ball rolling here. I just want to ask you a couple questions here. Now, before you got VectorVest, what questions did you have about, before you bought VectorVest, what questions did you have about buying and selling stocks? What concerns did you have before you were a customer of VectorVest, right? The other thing is, what's currently going on in your life that you might be struggling with when it comes to investing, right? Whether it's your system, the plan, stock selection, because that's a common, not everyone's, doing great. I hope most of you are. The ones that are not, definitely want to help them as well. So what are you struggling with when it comes to your investment journey? Is it your stops? Is it selecting good stocks? Are you picking stocks that might be too aggressive for your style? Are you overweighted in positions? Let me know. The more information you put in the comments there, the more information I have to work with to help answer and address some of these questions and concerns over the next few weeks, okay? And let's just throw this out there. What are the top challenges you have right now in your portfolio? Maybe give me 3, just as an example. So if you got some moment here, definitely put that stuff in the comment section because we'll be going back to these comments. So if you do have, some heartache in your portfolio, some struggles, trying to be successful, or if you're successful now, what were your struggles then, right? So that way we can address it, right? We can find good stocks in the software, but there's a whole lot of other problems out there when it comes to investing and portfolio management. Your rules, your time frames, your criteria, your risk tolerance. Yes, things of that nature. I cannot find your 2026 portfolio in the software. So that is in my software. Before you get to your stock picks, and struggling with nothing, only here to chill with you, Ryan. Thank you. And please don't hold back. Don't be embarrassed. We want to help. I want to help. That's the goal. That is the goal here. As well, it looks like VectorVest did put in the links here for the offers page. Again, the Tampa orders, you can put those in today. So if you want to jump the high phone lines, I imagine they'll be pretty busy this weekend, especially if you think you're already going to renew and you don't want to go through that, you can. As well, we got the coaching group offer link there, all that information, right? Your rules, your time frames, your criteria, your risk tolerance. Yes, that's exactly what we're thinking of. But when you get a moment, just put it in. Or if you have some questions, or if you have, things that we may not have addressed in some videos, whatever it may be, give us some ideas here. I want your feedback, and I want to make content that is, pertinent to our subscribers, right? Pertinent to our subscribers. Still licking my chops over SMCI 10 bagger, paid for a lifetime of VectorVest. There we go, Bill. And you know what's more important, Bill? Are you still in SMCI, Bill? Are you still in SMCI? Because I imagine you're going to say no. And if you do, you might have a little bit left, but because I've seen the chart and it's been on the pullback, right? So I'm just curious if you're still in it. And if you're not in it, you took profits, right? There's nothing wrong. No way. Exactly, Bill. That's what VectorVest teaches. Protect those baggers, right? Trust me, we love a good bag, right? And the worst thing on planet Earth, I might say the worst thing, but when it comes to investing, right, is when you got a bag and it starts going down, right? You're like, oh man, I just had a bag, right? And you might move that stop, right? You might not even have a stop or an exit plan. That's even worse. That's a quick way to lose a bag, right? And if you got a multi-bagger, it's only exponentially worse, right? Thank you for adding leverage ETFs to VV. Okay, perfect. They've been the data teams trying to catch up with all the ETFs, but as you know, they're just making up ETFs on everything. So if there's not an ETF, there's actually in the software. I'm pretty sure it's under the training time. Anybody know where that is? There's somewhere in the software. It's been a while. There's an add new symbol. I have to take a look at it here. But yeah, you can add it or, call support. Actually, that's a good question. I will look and see. It's been a while since I've gone through the software to add a stock. Normally I just, message the data team. But I'll look into that and I'll show that on the next live stream, because that's a great, that could be a video itself, right? I know there's a lot of stocks and, especially new ETFs out there. That tends to be the most requested item as of late, are just all the variations of these ETFs. They got single leverage, double leverage, contras, all that good stuff on all kinds of popular stocks. Roxar, your example was going to be for iron. I see. It looks like. All right. I find new information almost every day in VectorVest. Ryan, one issue with VectorVest is not taking into account big dividends. Are you talking about the max yields? That's an interesting topic. I have a feeling you're talking about max yields, right? Let me grab a piece of paper here, because that is actually a good one. But the volatility of those max yields, and I've seen the volatility too. Let's see here. My biggest problem, I just don't follow what you say. Tapia. Stop it. I just don't follow what you say. I just don't follow what you say. I just don't follow what you say. That's funny. One of my portfolios reached a plateau a couple months ago. No matter what I do, I'm having a difficult time passing that plateau. That is interesting, John. John Fiore, interesting. John, are you a subscriber for VectorVest, like the actual software? I'm just curious. PLTY is way up for us, but you don't count for big dividends. Yeah, the Maxi, I think that really started, what, about a year or two ago? I'm not going to say, we don't really have any strategies, at least that I know. I don't do the retirement courses. But that's interesting. I'm going to look into that. How can we use it? But again, with those ETFs, they're not going to give us the intrinsic value. So me, logically thinking, I'm going to start with the Palantir chart itself, or whatever stock I'm looking at, and then look at the yield max, right? Because the ETF's only going to have really RT going for it, or price action, right? It's the MTI flattening. Interesting. Let's see. All right, let's get into what just happened to Zim. I'm just curious. What did happen to Zim? Look, I was looking at Palantir, as you can see. Here's Zim. All right, before we get to your stocks, give me just about. Oh yeah, gapped up. I see. Interesting. Shipping. Hey, I was talking about shipping. I think it was Zim was one of the ones I was talking about with the Houthis about a year or two ago. I mentioned on the live stream earlier. Don't forget about the shipping, because those shipping lanes are disrupted. Last time that worked out pretty well because the petroleum trade, it was okay. At this point, I'm not signed up for the masterclass. Can you flash that email address up there? Yeah, let's see here. Let me just make sure I have the right one here. Yep, it is. So it should be just VectorVest.com /stream. Oh, no, that did not work, actually. Let me get that link here, because that's kind of weird that it didn't work. All right, let's get here. But yeah, if you could put the VectorVest support, Thad, if you put that the stream link in there for everyone, because it looks like a couple people may not have registered yet. Debbie says, how's Glenn doing? As far as I know, Glenn is doing well. I saw him a few weeks ago. Actually, I need to reach out and see him again. Just, obviously been busy getting ready for Tampa. And it's been snowing like crazy here, so I haven't left the house too much on the weekends. We don't get a lot of snow, but the last few weekends, it's been kind of crazy here. But as far as he's doing good. He's not going to be at Tampa. He's still just continuing, his physical therapy, right? John says, yes, VectorVest subscriber for over 10 years. Thank you. Now, I said it in yesterday's stream in the community room. When I first started here, and even now, there's a common theme with the VectorVest subscribers. They've been with us for a while. Once the software, the onboarding process, it's a lot to learn. But once it clicks, there's just so much money to be made there. And if it hasn't quite clicked, or if you're new in your journey, again, the Tampa event, it can help kind of bring all of that together, right? Just throwing that out there. But yeah, Zim, we'll take a look at it. So Netflix is one I want to look at here. Still in the descending channel. And someone said, what does it mean, Ryan, when you say let the stock come to you? This is a perfect example here, right? You got the descending channel, way overvalued, RT below 1. I'm letting the stock come to me. It was 120, probably 110 by the time we figured out we're in a descending channel. We're undervalued, but I'm not rushing it because the momentum is still there. Even the sell rating hasn't even waned yet, right? It's still in the descending channel, but it has my attention. It definitely has my attention. This is the support zone I was looking at. It is now in that support zone. If it breaks it, let's just see what else we got back here. Probably somewhere in here, actually. Where is that one? Yeah, that's going to be around $70, right? So it's not 77. It's hard for me to say it's a bad price for Netflix. You see the value going up. Let's just take a look at earnings per share. I'll switch actually over to my new layout here. I created it. This is what I call the Video Simple 20 EMA. Again, I just started this. This is one that I created. Essentially, I just added a 20-day EMA and growth rate and earnings to the VectorVest Simple layout. And then I shaded in our stop price and then our valuation, right? You see, it's still, stop price is going down, price is going down. Growth rate still at 20%. Earnings still rising. I like the stock. I'm letting it come to me. I'm letting it come to me. If I started taking a nibble, it might be closer to 70, but that would be nibbles. I wouldn't really be getting all in or more bullish on it until at least it broke this descending channel. And obviously, I think we got 3 red lights right now across the board, so I'm not in a rush to buy anything. So before we get into your stocks, which I'm about to do now, next ticker your mom will buy. I just got in her Micron. I have to see. Honestly, if I can get UAMY, I have to look at it, but that might be the next one. I'm trying to get it a little bit cheaper. It's been very volatile, but now that volatility is kind of getting out. But yeah, that's going to be my next one on my mom. And actually Netflix and Microsoft, if you guys want full disclosure. Those are the ones I got on my radar for my mom. She hasn't pulled the trigger on them. And again, with 3 fresh red lights. No. Netflix down 16%. Moeller down 11. It's okay. Not too concerned. The rest of these still carrying the pack here, up about 12% for the year. Just to give you a backstory, Glenn started this. This is a buy and hold all throughout the year. So the only thing different that he did was he just kind of started on the first trading day of the year. Me, I took 4 weeks, 2 at the end of December, 2 at the beginning of January, and filled these. As well with Glenn, I did the same thing here. This is his regular January 2nd start, first trading day of the year. And this was me filling his positions, which I'm glad I filled them in better than a straight start, because that would have looked horrible, right? Let's see here. Cousin Eddie, be careful following Cousin Eddie. Some of y'all may know the backstory here. He is all in on semiconductors pretty much, in tech. That's just what he does. He's the whole background. I'm not going to get into that today. My portfolio, it's zeroed out. That's okay. I'm letting the market come to me, right? Why would I be should I be in a rush to buy? Does this say, hey, I should be in a rush to buy? To me, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't say that, right? Microsoft at 400, just as was foretold. Hey, I've been saying it. Let's talk about it, real quick. And again, put your ideas in the comment section. Put your ideas, put your thoughts in there, right? I want to literally cater and answer any questions, whether it's, something that you're confused about within VectorVest, a proprietary indicator, all that good stuff. Let's see here. Condition, signal, trigger. Yeah, interesting. I like that. See, we had Microsoft, Netflix we just looked at, still in the descending channel, not a rush. UAMY. What was the other one I said? There's 4. Yeah, Microsoft still sitting here around 400. That's fine. I like the support here. Yeah, I see the pressure. Like here's premium. That premium is no longer, but the earnings per share is still rising. And and yesterday I talked about this at the beginning of the year on a lot of stocks. If you noticed, the earnings per share is pretty much just flat to down. Anybody remember that when we went through all those stocks yesterday on the aftermarket action? This one's still rising, right? And I even did a short up here. Not very pretty. Down here, value filled the gap, retesting this level of support here. Kind of makes sense, right? Again, you're catching a falling knife, but trying to calculate that falling knife. Right? This is a falling knife I can get behind, but again, not going to be in a rush because look at the market, right? Look at the market. If I take little nibbles here and there, that's a personal thing. But as far as really homing in on buying, no. Let's see here. Let's go back. Oh wait, UAMY. That was the other one I look at. Yeah, all right. So broke the red line here. I gotta fix the red line. It's right on there. It's right on there. Where's the value at? That's my big thing right now. Where's the value? Value 584. 584. I just looked at according to Google, the average consensus for a price target is just over $10. And that's they going off of hype and stuff. Intrinsic value, VectorVest value, we got almost $6 here, right? So honestly, I might put the 200 some moving averages here, but I think I get my mom a little bit cheaper, so I'm not going to be in a rush to buy it right now. Not going to be in a rush to buy it. Now, if something happens with China and supply chains and starts moving, we might have to hurry that process up, right? Might have to be a little bit more aggressive in the purchase. That's just kind of where we're going at. All right, we got 15 minutes. 15 minutes. hit that like button. How many likes we got here? Let's see. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Duh. Let's see, where is this, y'all? Trying to find out where this is. Interesting. All right, let's just do this. Let's do, what is it? 245. Let's do 10 stocks. First 10 stocks coming across the chat. Let's get into them. And while I'm waiting on those 10, we're going to look at the market real quick. Market timing. This is my concern right now. Got the DEW up here. The confirmed call, obviously, that's been down for a little bit. We got a little whipsaw. There's a DEW down, but not much confirmation. As soon as it kind of went down, there was no follow through, right? No follow through. So as far as buying, no, right? But as far as holding on to some winners, the market, that DEW is holding right now, but it's showing a lot of weakness. I mean, this DPO, if you look at price action, the close right now is 80.12. So we're below the 30-day weighted moving average. So the only thing we're waiting on is the DPO, the D-trend and price oscillator, drop a little bit more. And then the DW is down, right? So even if you're swing trading, that's going to be warning. And just, as before, we get it down here, look for the follow through, right? I don't know where you're at right now. But I will say this, we got NVIDIA's earnings next week, right? So if anyone can restore faith in the AI trade, I'm going to say it would be NVIDIA, right? It's going to be all eyes on them, because if they don't, bring it to the table, the AI data center demand is strong and thriving, then some of those concerns as far as valuations, not just with NVIDIA, but the other ones more so, will definitely be at the forefront of investors' minds, right? All right, let's get into these stocks here. We've got SE, SLB, WTI, Pan American Silver, CLS, AMKR, I think this is 10. Let's see. All right, perfect. Get started in just a moment here. And just a heads up, I do have the daily color guard report, 3:55 Eastern Standard Time, 5 minutes before the market closes. If you have a VectorVest subscription and if you've never taken advantage of the community room, just pull up your app, your VV7. It's in there. The links are in there. So that way you can take advantage of that, because that's where we give guidance every day on market direction, whether it's me or one of the other instructors here, okay? Now, as far as these stocks, I did resort them, value divided by price, right? And there's actually some undervalued stocks here, some good ones, right? There's some overvalued as well, but look, it's overvalued. It's got the momentum, RT behind it, right? It's probably a story. So this one, I'm probably sticking more to the technicals, right? If I go over here to the right, definitely would be sticking more to the technicals. The sales growth rate, earnings growth rate, not exciting. But look at these numbers here. These are good picks. And a lot of them are undervalued. Yeah, all except one, SE. Kind of fairly valued, right? It's almost within about 10%. A little bit of a premium right now. I like these. Let's see here. So we got, here's Pan American Silver. They had earnings last night, right? Yeah, there we go. Earnings this morning, maybe. Or, no, it's today after the bell, right? I think it's today after the bell. Yeah, expectations, they're always huge for NVIDIA. Anybody remember the last time the MTI, in the buy-sell ratio, we're in the bottom fishing, levels, but it was NVIDIA's earnings, November, right before the holidays. Kind of Micron, NVIDIA came out, helped turn the market around, right? So hopefully you can do it this time. Hopefully. But as far as Pan American Silver, I don't understand. I'll just put it like this. I don't see how a miner could not bring enthusiasm to an earnings call this this whole year. Like you'd really have to, be a negative Nancy on your earnings call of, a gold or silver company right now. Ryan, are you still doing 6 p.m. shorts, and where in VV can I find old ones? The 6 p.m. They're not shorts. Those are the videos. They're just on our YouTube channel. They're on the YouTube channel. They're not within the VectorVest software. The only ones that might be in the software is just AMA, just because it's also recorded in the community room. But all my stuff, the shorts, the 6 p.m. videos, it's all on the YouTube side of things. When you go to our channel, VectorVest at YouTube, you'll see little things at the top. One says videos, one says shorts. You just click on that, and pretty much all me, right? And if you go down far enough, if you've never had experience with my dear friend Glenn, and my mentor who got me started at the channel, it's been over 2 years, going on 3 this summer. Definitely check out his old videos. Even Ryan, did Glenn retire? No, Glenn is just doing physical therapy from his medical issues. If you want to see how Glenn's doing, you just go to vectorvest.com/Glenn. And there's all kinds of updates. If you want to help with his family and stuff, there's GoFundMe. But yeah, he's just, we're just focused on his health right now. Hopefully we get him back in the saddle though. I miss my buddy here. Only if they are running out of mineral ore. What are you talking about? What are you talking about here? Oh yeah, only that is true. That is true. If your mine ain't producing, right? That would be you do have a good point there. But as far as this company here, again, chasing value to the upside, right? Now, oil, it's a hodgepodge. A lot of those stocks are overvalued. You got falling earnings per share, but just gold and silver mining, more often than not, you're gonna find them undervalued, chasing value, rising earnings, phenomenal growth rate earnings. If you're in a gold or mining stock, or you're thinking about buying a gold and mining stock, and it doesn't meet, undervalued, great EPS, a rising EPS, great growth rate, GRT. That's a tongue twister, right? Okay, I thought PAA was yesterday evening. Okay, but I thought why is the earnings today then? Maybe it was last night. I'm not sure, but the E's on today though. But this is a phenomenal stock here. I like it. It's back above the 20-day EMA. Gold and silver, they can't just go straight up, right? So you're not going to see that kind of chart pattern. And now with geopolitical, it's getting a little volatile, but I still like it. I said this a while back. I trust dips on gold and silver more than I trust in tech for the most part right now. Nvidia's got some interest though, as of lately too. IAG, again, nice steady Eddie. Yeah, closer to the 20-day EMA. Probably a little bit better of a price, but $22. Value right now is at $31.80. Earnings per share is rising. Growth rate's dropping. Went from about 40. Now we're at 28%. So that's what happened. Wasn't that Orla that had the mine collapse issue? And they channel, and that's actually if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure they had that. Because that's in my 2026 portfolio is my gold stock. But yeah, so there can be bad things that happen. But generally speaking, with the prices of these commodities, doing so well, obviously you can bring bad stuff, but it should be good. Yes, Orla. Okay, Bill. Yeah, so that consolidation, I kind of took my theory was the stock, value just keep going up, up, and up. The stock is stuck in this consolidation because of that mine collapse, and I was breaking above it, right? And just real quick, because I haven't looked at Orla in a while. Let's just see what it's doing. Yeah, okay, it's breaking above it here. Look, see, value just keeps going up. This is consolidation I was talking about from that mine collapse or whatever. So just take that advantage. HIMS undervalued. Remind me of HIMS. I can take a look at HIMS. I'm actually curious about that. IAG, that still looks good. Nice steady Eddie here. TPC, value chasing to the upside, rising. These told you these stocks at the top of the list. I could just tell by looking at the spreadsheet in the beginning. Couple things there. These were going to be good stocks, and they are. Look, there's the 20-day EMA pivot right now as we speak. It looks like, right? Your CLS. CLS showing a little bit of weakness here. You can see just got a little overextended from the valuation, right? But the market bringing it back. At the same time, the fundamentals catching up. Right now, with so much rejection on the bottom end of the 20-day EMA, and you see the sales flashing, I want to be in a rush to sell it. You see I got a little consolidation, or a little zone here per se. But yes, be careful if you own it. But as far as thinking about buying some more of it, the price is definitely getting more attractive here. But I need the price to stay above 261. And we never really retested this, maybe once here. But if we're looking for a pivot, I'd look around that 261. RT, though, again, the momentum is shifting directions for the bear. So be careful with this one, especially, again, with the market. Let it, might even have a better deal. You see back here, it was way undervalued, right? Let the market misprice it. That's okay with me because that's when the deals happen, right? That's when the deals happen. Here's another example. I'll tell you, this value is way up here, overvalued, right? It's coming right to value, still overvalued, honestly. So I want to be in a rush to buy it. Rising earnings per share, growth rate 34%, phenomenal. The only problem is the stock was just trading at such a premium. It has been, but look, value's catching up. But you can see that it finally gave, right? I went from what, $200? It's going to be down about 50%. It looks like it was down closer to 100 on that swing low here. So this one I'd put in a watch list, see what happens. Value's rising. Everything looks good here. Just the price action, right? And you see the market's been going down. This ain't the time to buy. I see rejection at the 20, potentially another rejection right here. Here's PCG. Interesting. Go back here. Yeah, that makes sense where it wants to find a floor. If it breaks that floor, probably looking around here. The stock's overvalued, yes, but look at value on the rise. Earnings per share on the rise. Growth rate was declining, but starting to tick back up, coming at 6%. Let's just see here if there's any long-term price appreciation potential. It's increasing, not quite favorable, but it's moving in the right direction. So I'm going to stick more to the technicals. And I'm looking at these levels right here. It's about 1780, and we got about 17 even here from the prior swing high. Cool. Not 10 years. Don't need that. All right, there's POW. POW, look at this. I mean, it was just undervalued. A lot of momentum here. You can see it just got stretched. Pricing coming back down. You might find a little pivot on this 20, but if it breaks it, especially for my investors, wait for it to become more undervalued. I mean, earnings per share is rising. Let's see. A lot of pressure here. I'd look for a retest somewhere in here, to be honest with you. And hopefully you get it undervalued, right? But again, the market's not reacting. So it's not a good time to be buying in general. If you own it, get defensive. Have a plan in place, right? Because especially if it breaks the 20-day EMA. If that's what you're waiting on to see if you get a little pivot to get some of that money back, that's on you. But you're kind of playing a dangerous game right now with this red light stacking up on the color guard. Here's a SLB, Schlumberger. This is Schlumberger. Schlumberger, right? Again, just overvalued. A lot of the petroleum stocks are. That's why I like the mining better. Falling EPS, falling growth rate. So look at the 20-day EMA, right? As long as it plays that 20-day EMA game, hey, short-term swing trade if you'd like. Otherwise, as far as an investment, not really seeing it. Let's go to 5 years here. But yeah, look, value on the decline, price on the decline, earnings per share rolling over a little bit here. Not quite there yet on it. Not quite there yet on it. The buy recommendation, as of right now, I see this more of a technical trade. Obviously, petroleum, everything going on in the world, more news driven. So I'd stick more to those technicals. AMKR. This one doesn't really play the 20-day EMA game very well, kind of well. But honestly, broke through at weakness. We need to get it back above that 20-day EMA. If you start getting rejections here on the way down, I don't know where your stop is, but be careful. Our stop right now is currently at 44.17, and you can see that did a great job to keep you on the right side of the trade so far, all the way from about, $20, $10-20 to a high of close to 60 here. 57. So be careful with this one. Be careful with this one, especially if it drops below the stop price. I do like this gap fill here. You see the retest? You filled the bottom of the gap, jumped right back up. Look at the momentum after that gap fill. And that was a pure technical trade, right? And ain't no fundamentals involved with this buying. I wouldn't think so. That was a pure gap fill, looks like. And then now looks like we're back below the 20-day EMA. So be careful with it. Be careful. Here's WTI offshore, way overvalued. I see no life in value. Earnings per share dropping, growth rate climbing, but still negative. Let's just go to a 5-year picture here. No, nothing here. I mean, maybe from a technical perspective, you're getting back above the 20, but this just looks like a headache. Nope, not doing it. All right. What is, oh, it's 3 o'clock on the dot. Look at that. WTI up 20% in 2 days was buy point. Ryan's rules. Black gold is the again. If you're going to do petroleum, and you know every instructor is going to be a little bit different, but me personally, I think more of a swing trade. You know, especially if you're in the ones that just high momentum, overvalued, falling earnings like this. Yes, I see it went from $1.50 to $2.68. You know. So make sure you got some familiarity with, you know, technical analysis. If you want something easy, star search, right? Your star search, once it gets above the yellow lane, you're in the fast lane, right? As long as it stays in this lane, you're in the trade. If it breaks this yellow line, you know, it's kind of when you want to consider taking some off the table. Otherwise, if you meet some profit objectives, this white line is typically when the stock gets a little over on the stretched side of things. These are Bollinger Bands, by the way. Just give you a little tip. All right, 3 o'clock. I think we covered everything. Do you still create? Yes. There's not one tomorrow because of Tampa, but it's Tuesdays and Fridays now. Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll be doing the 6 p.m. videos. Tuesdays and Fridays. As well, since we've been talking about topics and questions, let me know some topics for video ideas in the near future too. What time is the 6 p.m.? At 6 p.m. What time is? Stop it. But yeah, 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Fridays. And by all means, if you got some ideas, again, we're asking about, you know, some challenges you may have as a subscriber. You know, why, you know, or what questions did you have about buying and selling before you got to VectorVest, right? I don't know the exact answer of that question, Nancy. Don't know the exact answer to that question, but hopefully that should be around the corner, okay? All right, but yeah, put those in the chat. I'm going through the chats here. You know, after the live stream today, well, I got daily color guard, probably tomorrow maybe. You know, me and Brian will pick this, myself, and, you know, we'll work together, but I just want to make sure. Why no longer 6 p.m. so we Bill? Well, Bill, you know, you still owe me a video about filling gaps. Hey, that's not a bad one. And that was a perfect example that we just looked at, that bounce there. But yeah, put those in there. Why no longer 5 videos a week, Bill? Because of other projects essentially in the pipeline. And, you know, Jockey Club, right? You know, I can't do full steam. You know, unfortunately, I just don't have Glenn here right now. As much as I wish I could, you know, create, you know, live streams and videos and jogging like every day. Unfortunately, that's just the issue. So, you know, again, support Thad. He has stepped up to the plate. He has done a phenomenal job in Power Hour. You know, I don't know what the powers that be, but hopefully we get him on some live streams, get him a little bit more comfortable here, help that stuff. He does give great advice. You know, he's very VectorVest stringent, and I like that. I am too. You know, me and Glenn, you know, he taught me to be more of a gunslinger. But yeah, so I'm going to get started with the daily color guard report. Everybody have fun in Tampa this weekend. And by all means, please do not hesitate to give support a call if you have any questions. Otherwise, you know, we got moderators in the chat all weekend. Do not hesitate, to ask questions, right? Because trust me, I know what it's like, you know, learning options or learning technical indicators for the first time. It's not that easy. And don't feel that bad if you have to rewind it, right? I know I'm not the only one that's ever had to rewind a Ron Wheeler video, right? Put some ones if you've been there. Put some ones if you've been there. But on that note, you guys enjoy your afternoon. Enjoy Tampa this weekend. I'll see you actually tomorrow through the Timing the Markets. And for those who have access to the VectorVest 7 software, the daily color guard report here in just a little bit. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.